Over 50 new legendary and exotic weapons were added with the Witch Queen expansion. This is on top of the dozens and dozens of old ones that you can still get. With so many possibilities in front of you, how do you know what's worth your time to chase after? Well, this video covers my top 20 best new weapons in the Witch Queen, 10 weapons for my PvE mains out there, and 10 weapons for my PvP friends. I think a couple might actually surprise you. Our number 10 slot for PvE is a weapon that you might not be expecting, because it's an auto rifle. These are kind of hit and miss in PvE, but this one has a special trick up its sleeve. There's 3 reasons why Sweet Sorrow is going to be a must-have weapon for endgame PvE this season. First off, the only overload weapon types this season are auto rifles and SMGs. Both of these can be a bit rough at getting that stun to work on overload champions. But hey, it's all we have access to in the weapons department until next season unless you want to use an exotic, so we need a good auto rifle. Second, it has the amazing perk combination of 1 for all and stats for all. 1 for all has been a great PvE damage perk for quite a while now, and stats for all is a perfect pairing to complement the playstyle of specifically trying to activate the buff. On top of the extra damage, you're also going to be getting better handling, stability, reload, and range. Third, it's a craftable weapon. That means that anyone can get a god roll as long as you have the frame unlocked. This should be an easy pickup for anyone's vault this season, and you can guarantee yourself a deep sight version of this weapon each week from the helm to work towards unlocking that pattern. Before we move on to the number 10 slot on our list for PvP, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, which is Raid Shadow Legends. Hey, I love Destiny. I've played close to 10,000 hours since D1 launched, but let's be honest, sometimes the grindy activities can get a little bit boring. Shooting drag number 1000 to level up your 30th deep sight weapon can feel like a snooze, but these activities are important to get the gear that we want, and thankfully Raid has a way to help pass the time a little bit easier. That's because it has an autoplay mode, which makes it fun and easy to play both games at the same time. Hey, 2022 is wild. Obviously, as a dedicated hunter main, my first character pick was Elaine with the sick bow, but Raid has a ton of different champions to choose from as well as some really deep skill trees, so no matter what your personal style is, I bet you can find something that you like. It also has a ton of great loot to chase just like Destiny. There's rare weapons, armor, and tons of different things to chase after. There's also essentially a raid too. You can now take on the new Doom Tower. This is the best time ever to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on screen, you're going to get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion Aina, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon your awesome champions as soon as you get into the game. All of this treasure is going to be waiting for you right here. Thanks again to Raid for sponsoring the video. Now let's get back to the list. The number 10 slot for PvP flew a little bit too close to the sun early this season. Bungie had to clip its wings, and sadly, they did it really quickly, but it was fun while it lasted. Ragnall D accidentally launched with 16 zoom, making it the best legendary kinetic shotgun in the game temporarily. It was able to kill from some massive one-shot distances. Sadly, the overtuned zoom was quickly changed back to the standard zoom of 12, just like you'd find on any normal shotgun. Even after the nerf, it's still a pretty solid shotgun, but for a totally different reason. You can craft this weapon with elemental capacitor. That means when you're on an arc subclass, you'll get a huge buff to your handling. When combining this with perpetual motion, it can feel almost as good as the old quick draw shotguns before the great nerf. For the rest of the roll, I would recommend full choke, accurize, and a ranged masterwork. Rank number 9 on our list for PvE is a crazy exotic that fires explosive worms at your foes. Bungie really knocked it out of the park with some of the new exotics this season. Other exotics, like the exotic glaives, fell a little bit flat. Everything about the parasite is basically a W. This thing is one of the best burst DPS options in the game. When you kill enemies with your other weapons, you build up to 20 stacks with a parasite. Then your next shot with it consumes all those stacks for some wild damage output. Did a champion just walk in front of you? Whatever, I'll just delete it with the parasite. Match game's active and I don't have an arc damage weapon for the arc shield? No problem, parasite doesn't care. It's really a bit of a shame that it can't deal great sustained DPS during boss fights. It has incredible burst DPS, but it very quickly lags behind in a DPS race thanks to the lengthy reload time. If anyone at Bungie is watching, this is definitely one of the coolest exotics you've ever made. Next up on our list for PvP is a new hand cannon, Crisis Inverted. I have a soft spot in my heart for Amalon weapons in particular. There's just something about how they sound and feel that's so unique, and it just screams Destiny to me. Bungie must have buffed the drop rates for weapons at the end of core activities, because I swear I get a Crisis Inverted literally every match I play. And I'm not even complaining because there's quite a few interesting rolls that I want to play with. I mean, just look at all those perks. First up is Rapid Hit and Kill Clip. Rapid Hit makes sense for stability, which is really helpful in duels and gives you a faster reload to proc kill clip. I love this combo for 6v6 PvP because one kill starts the chain for more kills. I also really like moving target and opening shot. Extra aim assist is always welcome on any weapon in Destiny. And finally, it has the elusive combo of Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie. Abilities are so powerful in the Crucible, especially grenades with the new Void 3.0 system. Demolitionist gives your grenades back faster, and Adrenaline Junkie gives you more damage and handling after getting a kill, and a lot more damage if that kill happens to come from your grenade. It's just an amazing perk combination. The next weapon on our list was actually my very first drop from the new Vow of the Disciple raid, and one that I instantly fell in love with. Submission quickly became one of my favorite weapons in the game. I just love the sound, the looks, and how nice it feels to use. It's no multi-mock for PvP, and honestly I'm still a bit salty about missing out on the god roll for that one, but where it lacks in zoom and range for PvP, it makes up for with some fantastic PvE perks. The roll that I would recommend you craft is Small Bore for more range and stability, then Accurize rounds for even more range. For your main perks, you want Overflow and Frenzy for Grandmasters, and for any other PvE I would say Subsistence and Frenzy is way better. Enemies and GMs are just so tanky that I think Subsistence doesn't proc quite as much as Overflow. What makes Submission so great to use is that it's a 900 RPM SMG with perfectly maxed out recoil direction. You don't even need to do anything and it shoots so smooth like butter. If you're a fan of SMGs and PvE like I am, you're definitely going to want to use the Submission this season. Next up is another raid weapon. Deliverance is really fun to use in the Crucible, and it's the first ever Stasis Fusion Rifle. I sure wish we got it last season when Fusion Rifles had so many great seasonal mods for PvE. Deliverance has some really fun perks for PvP. First of all, you have Arrowhead Break for perfect recoil direction. It makes getting kills a lot easier. Tap the Trigger is still great on fusions even after the nerf. Successful Warm Up is easily the best perk in the final column though. Each final blow decreases the charge rate so you can get some really easy multi-kills. Perpetual Motion is great here too for improving your stability and reload speed. I'm just counting the weeks until I can finally craft the god roll for this thing. Hopefully I just get lucky in the Vow of the Disciple raid soon. The next weapon is one that I'm really surprised I like as much as I do. I never really use the Borealis that much in PvE, and Hardlight isn't too bad, but except for very special circumstances, I really don't like using my exotic weapon going to a primary. Dead Messenger though feels like the perfect iteration of this idea for weapons. By holding down your reload, you can change the energy type of the Dead Messenger. Are there some Void Shields in this Grandmaster Nightfall? Well, no problem, just activate Void mode and they can easily be broken. Are there some Solar and Arc Shields too? Well, Dead Messenger can easily take care of them without even going back to your inventory screen. It's also a wave frame grenade launcher, so it's awesome at ad clear, and it fires a wave in 3 different directions, making it very tough to miss. Dead Messenger is something that I'm seriously considering trying out for GMs this season. Every enemy has so much health, and I just love the idea of my special weapon quickly and efficiently taking out so many of them for me. Next up on our list is another fusion rifle. Just like the Deliverance, I'm really hoping I get a god roll of the Snorri FR5 in my hands soon. You can pair the Deliverance with a Palindrome or a Cantata, but with Snorri I can use my favorite Ice Luna or Fatebringer. Just like Deliverance, I'm looking for Arrowhead Break with successful warm-up on the Snorri. Instead of Perpetual Motion here though, I really want Firmly Planted. It's a stupidly strong perk on fusion rifles. While you're crouched, you get increased accuracy, improved stability, and better handling. It makes it so much easier to get those one-shot kills because the bolts get grouped tighter together. If you've been playing any Crucible this season, you've probably seen a lot more fusion rifles than normal. Thanks, sir. Pretty much any fusion rifle slaps these days, well, as long as it's not a high impact frame. I'm kinda torn about which one I like more, the Snorri or Deliverance. Out of these two fusions, I'm curious to hear from you, which one are you taking into the Crucible this season? Do you have a preference for one over the other? Let me know in the comments. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the Vow of the Disciple weapons. Reed's Regret has been a top linear fusion rifle since last season, but that requires playing Trials of Osiris, which is basically a no-go for many players who don't love playing PvP. Not to mention, getting your hands on a god roll relies on having some really lucky RNG. The Cataclysmic though is the new raid linear fusion rifle, and it's a nice alternative to Reed's that can still do some really nice damage and has the benefit of also being craftable. The roll I would recommend for PvE is Arrowhead Break, Enhanced Battery, Enhanced 4 times the Charm, and Enhanced Focus Fury. If you're short on materials for the enhanced versions though, the regular perks will work just fine here. With Enhanced Battery, you get extra fusion rifle shots for your magazine. This will take you from 6 shots up to 7. That means when you pair it with 4 times the Charm, you're going to have 11 shots between every reload if you don't miss a crit, and about half of those are getting buffed 20% by Focus Fury. If you beat the raid each week and do the extra little puzzle, you can guarantee yourself that you'll eventually get those 5 red border weapons to unlock the pattern. Then you can craft yourself the perfect Cataclysmic. Our next weapon features something quite rare on a pulse rifle. That would be the Aggressive Frame. Prior to Insidious, the only non-sunset aggressive pulse rifle was the Sacred Providence, and that one requires you to run the Garden of Salvation raid, so I think I'll be sticking with the role that I already have. I said in the PvE section how much I'm loving the new Vow of the Disciple weapons. I purposely left out the Insidious until now though. I think Insidious is perhaps the best all-around weapon from the new raid. It works great in both PvE and PvP. For the Crucible, I'm without a doubt farming for a god roll of the new Adept Insidious. I'm hoping for accurate rounds for more range, and Arrowhead Break for the maximum recoil direction. Then I'd probably go for Rapid Hit, which increases the stability in duels, but heating up here wouldn't be a bad choice either. You really can't go wrong with extra accuracy on Destiny weapons. For the final column, Rampage is always great for making those 2 burst kills just a bit easier to pull off. But I'd also be really happy with Adrenaline Junkie, which recently got a big buff, or even Vorpal Weapon, which is a really nice swappable option for taking down supers in Trials of Osiris. Now this is a PvP entry, but in PvE it actually is the only unstoppable weapon this season that has access to enhanced adaptive munitions. Pair that with enhanced demolitionist and you have yourself a very nice weapon for endgame PvE activities. Izanagi's Burden finally has some competition for the king of kinetic sniper rifles in PvE. That would be thanks to our next entry, Thoughtless. My favorite Thoughtless role right now is Overflow and Firing Line. Firing Line is a 20% buff to your damage when you're nearby 2 or more allies. This basically gives you a free damage buff as long as you're standing together, like in a Well of Radiance for example. If you're more into solo content though, Focus Fury is also a really nice perk here too. Overflow gives you a huge magazine size when you activate it, assuming you get the base magazine size as large as possible. And luckily, this is another craftable weapon, so once you collect all the red border weapons that you need, you're going to have a great sniper for PvE. Although with the funky scope, I probably won't be using this one too much in the Crucible. If I'm not running Izanagi in the kinetic slot, then this sniper has become my go-to option for PvE content. It's really nice because it opens up that exotic slot so that you can use either an exotic heavy weapon like Parasite or an exotic primary like the Sunshot, Graviton Lance, or anything else that you like in that slot. If you don't have a nice Thoughtless crafted yet, it's definitely one you want to be adding to your to-do list for the season. Maybe pellet shotguns aren't your favorite these days. If you're like my friend Yerda, then slug shotguns are your go-to. Fortissimo is such a cool looking gun and the audio design has a nice punch to it. Oh, and it's also got some really great perk options to choose from. Seriously though, Fortissimo is a contender for the best slug shotgun in the game right now. The role I'm craving to get my hands on is Fluted Barrel, Assault Mag, Threat Detector, and Opening Shot. It feels amazing to use, and according to user Nastyerror on Reddit, its one-shot kill distance is only 0.4 meters less than the Chaperone. Plus you can slap an Icarus grip mod on to be more accurate in the air. Unfortunately though, the only way to farm for this thing is just by playing a lot of strikes. You have to get super lucky for one to drop, and even if the drop rates are a little bit higher this season than in past seasons, I really wish you could just focus your engrams and Zavala to get this thing. Since I play so much Hunter in PvP, I'm basically always up in the air, and Icarus grip is so nice for this playstyle. The Chaperone doesn't have that mod slot, so Fortissimo is really calling my name lately. When you guys play strikes, keep an eye out for this one, it's quickly becoming one of my favorite new shotguns. The next PvE weapon is a gem for anyone who loves to clear a bunch of ads very quickly. With the right roll on the new Forbearance grenade launcher from Valve the Disciple raid, you can delete an entire group in one shot. The main perks that make this thing so awesome are Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction. Ambitious Assassin will add an extra shot into your magazine whenever you reload after some rapid kills, and with Chain Reaction causing an explosion on top of the regular grenade damage, Ambitious Assassin is going to be proccing quite a bit. Since Forbearance is yet another weapon that you can craft, you can pick these perks to be exactly as you want. You might be sleeping on this weapon for now, but trust me, if we see an Arc 3.0 update that is anything similar to what we've had with Void 3.0, you're gonna want this roll. The next weapon on the list nearly made my jaw hit the floor when I started using it. With shotguns getting nerfed and abilities becoming slightly less lethal, fusions are really strong right now. Likely Suspect has a perk combination that is just nasty for PvP. That would be Firmly Planted and Successful Warm-Up. Basically, Firmly Planted makes getting the first kill nearly free because of how much it buffs up your accuracy and stability while you're crouched. On a fusion rifle, these are very good things to have improved. Then Successful Warm-Up kicks in and wildly buffs your charge rate. This is on top of an already very fast charging fusion. It starts to feel almost more like a shotgun than a fusion rifle once you get the combo going. Once again, this bad boy is craftable, so I'd go with Small Bore for more range and stability, then Particle Repeater for even more stability and a range masterwork. If you have the mats for it, go with Enhanced Firmly Planted and Enhanced Successful Warm-Up for getting those lightning fast kills. What do you guys think about this fusion? Is it gonna get nerfed soon? I'd love to hear what you think. Next up for PvE is the Palmyra-B. This is a rocket launcher that excels in PvE and was even critical for some teams to clear the Day 1 Valve the Disciple raid with that steep DPS requirement. This rocket is awesome because not only does it roll with some great perks, but like many other weapons on this list, it's actually craftable. I gotta give props to Bungie for including so many weapons worth crafting this season. I really hope that trend continues for the rest of the year. My recommendation for the God roll would be Quick Launch, Impact Casing, Enhanced Autoloading Holster, and Enhanced Explosive Light with a Handling bonus frame. This is going to pair incredibly well with the Izanagi's Burden Exotic Sniper Rifle for some of the best DPS in Destiny 2. Just shoot a rocket at the boss and then swap and fire a 4x honed edge shot from Izanagi's Burden. then load another 4-time shot, and meanwhile your rocket is being auto-reloaded. Explosive Light makes your rockets deal even more damage after picking up Orbs of Light, so be sure to grab those on the ground before your damage phase begins. With this legendary rocket in hand, you're going to be ready to tackle basically any PvE challenge that Destiny throws at you, including the new raid. It's a great option for both of the big boss fights. The next weapon on the list that I'm absolutely loving in the Crucible right now is the Peace of Mind. It's got a competitive time to kill, awesome recoil direction, and you can craft yourself a god roll. Peace of Mind's recoil direction is okay, nothing great. But with 2 things added, you can get a buttery smooth, perfectly up and down recoil pattern. First off, you want Arrowhead Break. This is a massive buff to your recoil direction. It makes Peace of Mind much better, but that's not all we can do here. Throw on a counterbalance mod and now you've got yourself max recoil direction. Or if you value aerial play a bit more, then you can also go with Icarus Grip as well. For your 2 main perks, there's a few different ways you can go here. Probably the one getting the most press in the community right now is the combination of Overflow and Focus Fury. This is a great setup because Focus Fury doesn't get harder to proc from Overflow since that doesn't change the base magazine size, and the extra damage can help you go on some really nice sprees. Personally, for overall consistency, I'm vibing a bit more with Elemental Capacitor to greatly buff the handling or stability depending on if I'm playing an Arc or a Void subclass. Then you can pair that with Heating Up to buff the accuracy and stability when you get kills, or Perpetual Motion, which is going to buff up your stability, handling, and reload while you're moving. The next PvE weapon on this list is the brand new exotic SMG Nastyerror. What makes it so powerful is the toxic damage over time. It's great at clearing ads and taking out champions. Also, the only weapons this season that can stun overload champions are auto rifles and SMGs. The toxin effect makes it one of the most consistent weapons of the game for overloads. We all know how obnoxious teleporting overload champions are. Maybe you hate them as much as I do. Well, Nastyerror is the only safety net we have if we whiff our overload grenade. The tick damage also prevents these overload champions from recovering their health back. The cherry on top of this incredible SMG is that it actually kind of aims for you. If you hold down the trigger in the general direction of the group of enemies, the bullets curve basically right into being headshots. Hey, sometimes you need to slouch back in your gaming chair and let the weapon do the work for you. The next weapon on our list is a hand cannon that challenges the infamous Palindrome for King of the Energy slot. If you're a fan of Suro's hand cannons, you're probably already in love with the Cantata. It has some great base stats, and it has the same incredible perk combination of my favorite legendary hand cannon in Destiny history, the Austringer. That would be Opening Shot or Rangefinder paired with Eye of the Storm. I already made a full breakdown of this amazing hand cannon and how it compares with the Palindrome, which I'll link in the description if you want to check it out. It's definitely a hand cannon worth chasing this season. Our number 1 spot for PvE weapons this season is essentially a reincarnation of one of the most powerful weapons in Destiny 2 history. For those of you who didn't play Destiny before Beyond Light, the Recluse was such an incredibly overpowered weapon that it basically became the go-to pick for any PvE activity, and it shredded targets in the Crucible as well. It was eventually nerfed and also sunset, but its legacy lives on in the new Funnel Web SMG. The Funnel Web isn't quite as overpowered as Recluse was at base, and maybe that's a good thing because the last thing any of us want is another sunsetting situation. But with Void 3.0 and seasonal mods, you can get the Funnel Web to be very close to Recluse levels of insanity. With some of the builds you can run, it might even be stronger at clearing ads than Recluse ever was. With the Volatile Flow mod from your seasonal artifact, it's so easy to make a build where Funnel Web blows up groups of enemies. I'm talking about explosions as big as Firefly, but they all happen at the same time. Just slap on Font of Might, pick up a Void Elemental Well, and shoot some volatile rounds from your Funnel Web. Then watch the massive kaboom. What's kind of funny is you barely even need to aim the Funnel Web. Just hip firing body shots into enemies is still a super effective way of blowing through waves of ads. My role with Subsistence and Frenzy just doesn't come off when I'm playing some fun chill PvE. You definitely want to get this weapon this season if you like some flashy explosions. It's by far the number 1 most used primary weapon of the season for me in PvE. And our number 1 slot for PvP goes to a very special sniper rifle that hasn't been part of the meta for many seasons now. Silicon Neuroma isn't technically new to the game, but it never had random rolls back when it was a Nightfall reward back in year 1 of Destiny 2. This one is a kinetic, high-impact sniper that now drops from Nightfall ordeals. I'm so excited about this sniper because I really wanted to have another lower zoom, high-impact sniper to play around with. There's always been the Bite of the Fox, but I never could get behind that reticle shape, and I always enjoyed using the Frozen Orbit, but that one's a 50 zoom and Silicon Aroma is a 43. The lower zoom gives you a wider FOV, and that really helps with that close quarter sniping style, which is my favorite playstyle in Destiny PvP. It's also finally another weapon to challenge the Eye of Soul for the best sniper in the kinetic slot. And Silicon Aroma can roll with Snapshot and Opening Shot together, which is a role that used to be available on the Eye of Soul, but sadly hasn't been available ever since Bungie changed the perk pool a few seasons ago. Also, since Silicon Aroma is a Nightfall reward, we'll be able to farm for it in GM Nightfalls this season to get the Adept version. This is going to give us access to mods like Adept Targeting for even more aim assist. If you've used any sniper in Destiny, you probably know how great Snapshot is. Well, pair that with opening shot, adept targeting, and a nice mix of range and handling in the stats department, and you're gonna have one of the best snipers in Destiny, hands down. I'm really curious to hear from you. What's your favorite new weapon in the Witch Queen so far? I just love how many of the ones on this list are craftable. I definitely have my work cut out for me this season to craft all the roles that I want. If you're curious about which perks to go for on any new weapon, check out the video I just made explaining every weapon damage perk in Destiny. I also rank them in PvE and PvP so you know without a doubt what to go for. It's the video on the top right of your screen and also linked in the description.